Thank you for keeping it locked to the Power Station Energy 100. This is Econo Chat. Let's talk business with Mr. Daniel Steinman. For those who just tuned in, we are talking investment. And before we went on a break, Mr. Daniel Steinman did explain to us in very simple terms about when you start to plan, or rather when you start to build, like for example a warehouse, you need to start investing now so that you can be able to start enjoying the profit, I should say, 12 months from now,
or even 24.
Even 24.
Every big project takes time. And this is what people often forget when they plan investment, is that we have to commit to a loan or to shareholder funds, but the return on that, or there will only be a return a year from now, or 2 years from now, or if it's a very, very big project, 5 years, 6 years. That's not unrealistic. But you ask me, what is the size of the investment playing field? Now, Elsie, I wish I had the answer to that, because I think that is one of those secrets that almost like a James Bond secret. Nobody ever finds out what the real thing is. But let me break it down. We know from the annual budget, the Ministry of Finance budget, that what we get in the revenue side of the budget is about 66 billion. So that's 66,000 million Namibia dollar. And what we use, or what we spend in a year, is about 74 billion. So there's a difference. We give out more than what we get in, and that part is called the deficit. So the deficit is a negative figure. It means that you have to get it from somewhere, and that somewhere is what we call the capital market. And that is a mechanism that is, I wouldn't say listed on the stock exchange, but it is captured on the stock exchange. It doesn't happen in a vacuum. So the whole government bond, internal registered stock or treasury bills, the way that the government finances itself is a transparent, fairly complex mechanism. It's all machinery, It is not like in Zimbabwe where they said we want 800 million, and then the ministry said here's 800 million, and then eventually everything collapsed. So it's a very structured thing here. If we look at that deficit, we see it is about 6% of GDP. Now, I can bore you for weeks on end with all the small technical distinctions, how we compare stuff, whether we compare it to GDP, gross domestic product, which is, I think I explained that already somewhere in the past year, which is basically the turnover of the country as a whole. Or we can compare it to the revenue side. In other words, the government's income, that part that it gets from taxes and all sorts of fees. Or we can compare it as a percentage of what we spend, the negative column in the balance sheet, where the money flows out again. So now you're asking me, how big is the investment playing field here? So the first answer would be at least 77 billion a year, because that is spent by the government. But there's a catch. A very small amount of that is so-called capital spending. Most of it is consumer spending. And in the last part of our discussion today, I'm going to come back to this, I almost want to call it this economic fight between consumption and investment. So the 77 billion that the government spends in a year is not all of it is used to invest in infrastructure or project or anything. A very large part of it goes to salaries and running costs. But I think we can safely say on that side it's about 12 billion. And then there's investment off the balance sheet. And this is usually project-based, and it is financed by bilateral loans or by grants. And then there's private sector investment.
Yeah.
And this is now the reason why I said to you, Elsbie, if you know, please let me know, because I don't know. The only way that we can monitor that is by looking at private sector credit extension.
Okay.
And since 2017, for the last 5 years, private sector credit extension was stagnant. Very, very little growth, no fireworks there. So I would say that at this moment, investment from the private sector is lackluster. Very small, very compared to what it was, which is usually an indication of a lack of business confidence. But let's go for a break, and then we come back to that other fundamental concept, consumption, investment.
Okay, we will certainly do that. Let's go for a short one.